None of the following should be taken as business, investment, legal, or tax advice. Enjoy the podcast.
Good day, everyone. It's Wesley, Head of Partnerships at SwapSpace, and today I'm also going to be your podcast host. And we're here today with Jamie, CMO of Bitget Wallet. Jamie, floor is yours. Tell me more.
Actually, Wesley, this is an absolute pleasure to be here today. Thank you very much for the kind invitation. And first of all, let me introduce myself. My name's Jamie. I'm the CMO of Bitget Wallet. Now, you may be thinking, who the hell is this guy? So let me kind of break it down as to who I am and the organisation that I'm representing. Let me start off with the organisation. For me, it's the number one tool, accessory, wallet, however you want to phrase it, that you need in your everyday lives. You know, when it comes to wallets, they've evolved much more than wallets, and we're going to discuss this in more detail today. Now, the word or the terminology we use, of course, is Bitget Wallet. That's what we're branded as. But actually, we cover multiple use cases across pay, trade, and earn, and I cannot wait to dive deeper into them throughout these discussions. Now, we are trusted by over 90 million users worldwide, and we pride ourselves on our UX experience, of course, the connectivity to the latest tech available within the markets, giving users the best experience for all things trade, pay, and earn, which evolves, in our opinion, the future of finance, which is on-chain, empowering everybody around the world. Now, from my side, of course, I'm the CMO. I'm going to try and avoid too much marketing talk. You're going to have to pull me back sometimes, Wesley. I just automatically go into that mode, but that's absolutely fine. From my side, I've been with Bitget as an ecosystem for just over 3 years. I've been with the Bitget Wallet team for a year and a half. I have thoroughly enjoyed the last year and a half. Super rewarding. The reason it's rewarding is probably because of my past, and my past is around wanting to educate people, empower people with tools that they need every single day to impact their lives. I've been very outspoken around my heritage. You know, I'm English, you can tell by my accent, but I actually live in the Middle East. And the reason I'm in the Middle East is my father is Egyptian, and majority of my family live in the UAE, in Dubai. Now, as part of that, my mind has always been super open to finance, financial tools, and the difference in them. Whether you're a person in the UK or Cairo, you have simply very different outlooks on what finance looks for you. And something that truly excites me with Bitget Wallet and the vision that we have right now is actually it doesn't matter where you are. You have access to the same provision or same suite of tools and services. And for me, that is why I love crypto. And you'll hear from my past experiences. You're probably thinking, how the hell has this guy ended up in crypto? Well, actually, it's because of my personal feeling and thought towards the world, towards finance, and towards actually the right to exist. And when I mean exist, live your life without any control on parameters. You know, we know the beautiful thing about being on-chain is you have full control of the start and the actual outcome of all processes. And for me, in my life, that's how I want to live.
Jamie, love the energy. Absolutely love the energy, my man. That's definitely great. And as you know, maybe the first week or a couple of weeks or maybe first month of this year, 2026, started with quite a heavy news with all of this price drops on the crypto and so on and so forth. And I want to ask you kind of personal question out there. How do you and also maybe the Bitget Wallet team live inside this constant news storm where when today is okay, we're up 100% on the Bitcoin and so on and so forth, and the next day, okay, it seems like the crypto is dying. And if you can share with me, what's your kind of day-to-day routine in carrying this news? Because you're the first person who actually like feeling it on yourself on the side of the marketing. So tell me more.
That's it. I mean, first and foremost, something that I really like about the Bitget Wallet team is, you know, sometimes in organizations you get people that work on products that frankly it doesn't resonate to them. Like they would never use it, but they're just good at marketing or they're good developers and they work on this thing, they go home and they don't care about it. The thing about Bitget Wallet is every single one of us internally uses the product and has a good understanding of the market. Now, forget about whether it's positive or negative. Capturing and riding trends and acknowledging them early is something we have been exceptionally good at in the last year or two. And the reason for that is, frankly, the team that we have are wonderfully empowered and actually very capable of recognizing them because they're in the circles. You know, we talk about users actually coming and giving us user feedback. Well, actually the people building the product, demonstrating the product, they are the actual users as well. So that I think really gives us the edge. What I will say is our direct user feedback, our community channels are extremely strong. Our partnerships are extremely substantial. And I think the interesting thing when it comes to partnerships is very often large organizations, when they enter partnerships, it's very much one way. For us, everything that we do is two-way. The communication channels, the synergy, the energy that we have with our partners, it has to be mutually beneficial. And I think this is where you get great rewards, not only, of course, financially for our end users when you have campaigns and such things, but actually from an experience point of view, we can implement changes directly, whether that be user feedback, partner feedback, or any user within our ecosystem comes and gives us feedback. We can make those changes quickly. I think something that we see recently, or in the last 6 months, was the evolution of TG bots and then the downfall of TG bots. We rode that storm very, very well, in my opinion, and then we conquered to what came next, whether it's smart insights, smart tools within trading of meme coins within our application, or frankly, whether it's the ability to trade real world assets 24/7, all around the clock, within one wallet. We've rode it exceptionally well in terms of trends. What comes next? I cannot wait to probably discuss this later on, but nothing changes for us. Frankly, Wesley, if you were to tell me today that Bitcoin was 20k or 200k, our team would have the same process. We wake up, we monitor the latest hot trends every day in the morning, and we get straight to work.
By the way, Jamie, I already made a bit of homework researching where you actually worked in the past, what projects you've been executing, and so on and so forth. So you spent a significant part of your career in sports analytics. So Manchester City alone sounds like a cool Moneyball out there. So which principles, for example, from the professional sports do you actually apply in your work as CMO today in a cryptography company? Basically, and anything, maybe you can highlight some cases where something in sports worked brilliantly, awesome, like people screaming crazy, and at the same time, in crypto not working at all. Sounds like a different world out there. So please share with me. Super curious.
Yeah, I probably learned the most, actually, not in football. Football's very expensive, very overpaid, lots of technology. The thing that I like the most about rugby is, and it resonates to where the crypto space is right now, is that although I was at a top club, Hull KR, Warrington Wolves, Salford Red Devils, they're all top division clubs.
Yep.
They're like startups, and it reminds me very much of startups in the Web3 space of like, you're not cash rich, you're not tech rich, but you have to make it work. So when we were analysing opposition, when we were analysing how we were going to play, you have to think differently, you have to think creatively. You cannot leave any stone unturned. You have to ask questions that other people are not asking. And I think something that really resonates to now in terms of the way we position ourselves, we really angle our conversations and branding materials, because it's super important, is where you actually fit in the wider picture. Now, it does take me back to the rugby days, because say we were preparing to play a huge game against like Leeds Rhinos or a big team. Now, you would analyse all of their performance, you would see your strengths, your weaknesses, and of course you would look to exploit where you think you can benefit. Now, it's exactly the same with any form of Web3 digital agency or company. You need to understand what you do well and what you don't do well very, very quickly, because only then you can make real progress. Then you've got two options. You either double down on what you do exceptionally well, or you improve on what you don't do well. I think sometimes when you focus on both, you don't actually make too much of an impact. That actually comes from a mentor of mine who constantly gives even me that feedback today. I think understanding what works well, understanding the team dynamic, within your team, how do you push individuals to achieve excellence? And that excellence, of course, is the objective of which you've set that day, that week, that quarter, even within a year, to make great things happen for your organisation. Frankly, building is stressful, it's eventful, you're going to fall out, you're going to have arguments, there's going to be bumps along the way, but actually what matters most is hitting that end goal, building teams with a positive culture that understand everybody around them. When you're on a bike, you have to spin it, there's multiple cogs, there's multiple ways to ride that bike, but ultimately the bike's getting to the end line, right? And you need to make sure it happens. You need to identify leaders, you need to identify your engine. In my team, I often have a joke with them, and I say, you are my engine, because frankly, there's people within teams that very often they don't get any or much at all attention for the essential work that they do. And I think you need to recognise as a leader, without these people, you do not build, you do not achieve great things. And that, again, comes back to the rugby and the sports stage. If it's a footballer, it's maybe your defensive midfielder. If it's a rugby player, maybe it's your prop forward. These are the people that give you the right, and me the right, to come on podcasts like this and showcase exactly what it is that we're trying to achieve, because actually they go back and they do all of the hard work. There's one famous quote, one famous saying that actually Warrington Wolves, they actually have it printed on their shirt, and it's actually a Latin saying. It's like, when you drink water, should never forget those who dug the well. So like for me, I really like that saying. I think it really sticks with me because, you know, when of course when you're having a cup of water, there's a lot of effort that goes into that. But actually, I think it really resonates to the digital Web3 space because, frankly, there's a hell of a lot of work going on behind the scenes. And actually, if users understood it, they would be blown away.
Exactly. And thank you for sharing this quote, Jamie. Absolutely love it. And staying a bit more on the sports moments out there, what do you think about the NFT experiments like that was happening in like wide amount of clubs, and Paris Saint-Germain is not the exception in there. So was it just a bad idea, bad timing, or simply maybe bad user education out there on like applying all of this NFT tickets, special passes, and so on and so forth? Or do you think it maybe still have like the second chance out there to reborn like Phoenix?
I mean, I'm biased. I love NFTs. I love NFTs because of the intellectual property rights around them rather than the utility. I believe that life is going to be on the blockchain. You cannot beat it. So proof of ownership, you know, is a perfect example of that when it comes to official shirts, tickets, merchandise, things like this. I think where it went wrong, you know, we're talking about alien PFPs with zero utility, zero backing from traditional institutions. I genuinely think in the future they will come back. I don't think they'll be called NFTs. I think it will be more around proof of ownership. I think it may be worded slightly different. I think the concept is there. Frankly, it's the same, Wesley, with crypto. Let's be honest. Are the majority of meme coins going to really create a solid foundation for the space moving forward? Absolutely not. But the technology behind them are, right? You know, with the use of the blockchain, the ability to grow communities to step forward. And, you know, for many people, meme coins, NFTs are a gateway into serious financial decisions within blockchain. You know, NFTs for that, they're exactly the same. And I personally can't wait to see how they develop. But I think it's going to take a hell of a lot of hard work.
Got it. So you're definitely giving it a second chance, like in the future,
Sure.
maybe. Exactly. Jimmy, and I also wanted to ask, like, maybe it's kind of personal, but if you can describe me the moment of transition where, for example, okay, you started in basically like the sports industry out there, and how does someone go from sports analytics to becoming a CMO in Web3 startup or company?
I mean, that is a really nice question. It's nice, but I'm going to start it with a really tragic story. So at Hull KR, the head coach actually got sacked, and I had gone to every club with him that he worked with. He's actually a very successful, I think he's the most successful rugby league coach ever. He was 66 at the time. He was the Australian head coach, won the World Cup, won everything. But actually, he got sacked, and I was really sad about it, of course. And when he got sacked, like I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I need to look for something different. And this is a funny story. So we moved back home. I was driving like 2 hours to work every day. This was like a month before he got fired. I knew it was going to happen. So I kind of like moved my wife back home, and was just traveling all the way up to Hull from Liverpool all the time. When it happened, my next door neighbour said to me, "Jamie, you look exhausted. What are you doing?" And this is like at the time, sorry if you're watching this, Karen, I think she was about 60. 60-year-old lady said, "Jamie, you're wasting your time. Stop driving to work. You need to study crypto and Bitcoin." So I was like, "Oh, whatever, Karen. I don't want to hear what you've got to say." And I was thinking about it on the way home. I said, "Oh, I need to go and speak to Karen." So I went and bought myself a notepad and pen, and I sat with her all night long, and she told me everything that she knew. And something within me then thought, hey, she's talking about like you actually physically own your assets. Nobody can control them. The way in which you store the assets, the way in which you can transact with people internationally, no matter where they are in a matter of seconds, how cheap it is to send and transact money. I can actually pay for things with like this digital currency. Like I can earn a lot of money. These meme coins are highly volatile, very speculative, but there's opportunity. I was like, hey, I'm going to give this a go. And to be honest, that is how my crypto journey started. I fell in love with it. I didn't sleep for probably weeks. You know, a couple of weeks after the coach got fired, I actually went working for Manchester City Football Club. Great opportunity, but frankly, I was sat there and I didn't care less about my day job. I was just all in, learning about crypto, studying it, watching charts, in TG chats, and I was just trying to grab this concept. And for me, the communities, the international aspect of the communities, it blew me away. You know, the fact that I didn't think of it beforehand, I just couldn't believe it at all. And I just went all into it and fell into it. And for me, that also started something very different in my life. I never, ever, ever thought that I would vlog, create content, do anything like that. But COVID struck, and my wife said, hey, well, why don't you start like a TikTok channel, Instagram channel? I did it, and I thought this was an app for like 13, 14-year-olds to dance and stuff. And it kind of blew up. I think in the first month of me having TikTok, it grew above 10k followers. Within 2 to 3 months, it was above 50,000. It just kept flying and flying and flying. And the reason for that was every single trade, no matter whether I won, lost, whatever, I would just share everything, but actually just really be on a human level myself and be like, I'm learning about this is what I'm trying to do. And I would live stream for hours and hours while I was studying about like kind of, at the time there was so many NFTs popping off, and then we were looking at different meme coin projects and talking about them. And actually that like communication strategy, it was really early for the stake of like TikTok, and I fell in love with it. So back then it kind of took me into the marketing angle, you know, where I was speaking at events pretty much all around the world. Me and my wife, we went traveling. We literally took the car. We travelled all around Europe. We drove to Turkey. I went to Istanbul blockchain. I drove from the UK to Istanbul Blockchain Week, which was one hell of an experience. And we just went for it. You know, for me, I just saw it as an opportunity to change my life, change the people's around me's life, and come back to that end goal. And the end goal that we spoke about before was a bit about my heritage. You know, if I look at options, if I look at opportunities, where you are in the world, I strongly believe that everybody should have the right to equal access.
That's exactly the next topic I wanted to discuss with you. So, quote, you're often talking about the crypto for everyone kind of terminology out there. You also mentioned it a couple of times during our today's talk. But the paradox is that crypto becomes more and more complex every year. Like new concepts, new networks, more risk, more terminology out there getting presented. So what does crypto for everyone actually means to you personally? If you can describe it for our listeners.
Yeah, crypto for everyone is the ability for fair and equal access. You know, the future of finance is on-chain. Well, I've said this earlier within the podcast. I strongly believe that. But actually, the access to services, the access, and these, by the way, these services, we're talking about things that you can do in your everyday lives. I'll give you some of my real-life examples. The car that I can look at right now, I paid with stable coins. The Christmas trip, I just went back home to see my family, took my little daughter to Disneyland Paris, then we went back to Warrington, where I'm very proud to be from. Flights, paid for with crypto. Hotel, booked for directly within the application that we have at Bitget Wallet. The travel currency, don't need it anymore. I live in dirhams, I live in Dubai. Everything I just pay on my MasterCard, which is directly via crypto. I now have the ability to live a fully digital life thanks to my wallet. And that is actually the case for anybody, no matter where you are in the world. The ability to then earn, tomorrow's payday, that's why I'm in a good mood, Wesley. I know that I can siphon some money off to the side and I can put it into our earn system and maximise what I'm getting. And for me, having that alternative, I don't need a bank account. I really do not need a bank account in my life to change the way I live. Genuinely. And I challenge you, Wesley, to maybe even think of one example that I would need. You know, I went to India. India, we know it's a very remote area of the world in terms of payment. And I mean this very respectfully. People say that when you go, you can't use Apple Pay, you can't do these things. There's videos of me, I tweeted it. I went straight into the most remote market. I was even buying random guys coffee and tea, went and bought my wife a little present in the local market, paid directly with my crypto card. I no longer need to take travel currency when I travel. For me, someone who attends all crypto events pretty much all around the world, you know, that's something very, very, very unique. But I do think there's kind of more services and products that I'm super excited about in 2026 and how it evolves, perhaps around credit solutions, things like that. Let's see. I cannot wait. But for me, crypto for everyone is about opportunity and the future of finance being on-chain.
Jamie, it's great that you mentioned it. We recently actually made a kind of research throughout users of SwapSpace. We was checking why most of the people are actually like swapping cryptocurrency and what the exact kind of end point what they're trying to achieve, and loads of people are actually doing this for the travel purposes. That's kind of was the greatest finding out there. I was super surprised because you see right now, like a lot of traditional exchanges, like, I don't know, Bitget and a couple others, they have this kind of cards connected directly to the platform. You're using something like this, or like it's absolutely like different service that you're using for traveling out there?
Well, I use it for everything, to be honest. Even like my wife now, she's gone to the mall. I can see the notifications coming through as we're speaking. She's spending my crypto right now. So like, honestly, whenever I'm traveling, whenever I'm shopping, filling up petrol, getting fuel for my car, buying coffee, literally whatever I need it to, even sending money back. It was my niece's birthday. I don't send money via the bank anymore. Who the hell does that anymore? You know, I send him USDT to my brother, he just goes and buys it. You know, like there's no need for me to have a bank account.
We slightly moving towards the education moment out there. You founded actually 2 on-chain education projects and talk a lot about the user education in general. So how realistic is it to actually educate people in the industry that becomes more and more complex, literally, I would say, every month? And maybe if you can name a couple of core principles behind your education projects, I would be super grateful.
Yeah, I think it's never been more challenging to educate yourself in the Web3 space right now than before. Now, you would think it's but the polar opposite. You know, the amount of resource online has vastly improved in the last 4, 5, 6 years. But actually, what hasn't improved is fact-checking. You know, when we look back 3, 4 years ago, something that I recognized pretty early was the aggregation of factual contents and how it's then produced to people. So the first thing that I did was create a news aggregation site that was publishing smart articles. Basically, it was picking up every article that was published, creating it into 250 characters, abbreviating it right down, and then summarizing at the bottom, do we think this is real or fake? And that was all via the use of AI. And AI has been around for a while, you know, this is not new, but actually what this did was it gave people a very quick glance at what's up and coming, and that should then ask questions and give an opinion off the back of. You know, for me, we live in a society, you know, you look at X, where you can frankly say or act in any way in which you want. Now, I think that this is where examples for us as an organisation, we have to deliver more than ever. You know, it's almost kind of, I'm going to say corporate responsibility, for want of a better word, because we strongly believe that education is not only a right, but something we should really strive forward to give users in a really positive light. Now, if you look at some of the initiatives that we've put together, the Crypto 101 initiative was a fantastic rollout of educational resources in app. But actually, we took it one step further. If you're using our application, you'll see multiple pop-ups, multiple briefs that actually demonstrate risk elements to you at any point. Something that we launched in the last week, actually, within our homepage, we actually contribute content from KOLs, news media outlets, things like this, and we give you the latest news in-app. Now, the reason that we do this is to educate our users, keep them informed of how they can actually not only utilize our app, but actually trends that are happening within the market. Now, Wesley, if I'm to be super honest, I think that the KOL market has changed significantly in the last probably 4 or 5 years. I think KOLs have gone from a place where you would go to get breaking news to now getting varied pieces of broken news. And I mean that in a very respectful way. I think now to get to the end goal, which is, of course, your informed decision, you now have to listen to probably 5 or 10 different influencers or creators to be able to then go and ask the questions or research the questions in your mind to make an informed decision. Now, for us as an organisation, to be able to collate that, to be able to compile reports, to be able to create PR, to be able to give thought leadership, we want to position our users, position our everyday viewers of our social media platforms in the best possible light and give them access to meaningful resource. So for me, I think that it's really important that users go away and, of course, do their own research, but actually they listen to credible sources of information.
And another important topic that I wanted to touch base on. So you also repeatedly said that users are moving from centralized exchanges to decentralized ones and wallet-first models, I would say. Is this mainly ideology, you think? Or a reaction to crisis that we're currently seeing, and what's going to be the next logical step on the market? Because I mean, before this access was kind of the straightforward solution for many people, but right now it's a bit changing. So what's your approach towards it?
Yeah, love it. I cannot wait to talk a little bit of trash on sexes. No, just kidding. I think where it's really interesting is, probably for the last 3 to 4 years, sexes have wiped the floor with wallets, and they've wiped the floor with wallets due to user experience and the ease of use when it comes to want to access certain tokens, coins, projects, ecosystems, and even earn capabilities within applications.
Right. Right.
Now, I genuinely believe that wallets are little growing sexes because they now have the UX experience of sexes in a self-custodial manner with even more capability in a more powerful application. Now, hopefully you got a great quote there, but I mean it in a really, really positive way. It's a positive way because I think when you are developing and building an application that wants to basically listen and surface the needs of users, you have to learn from what's happened in the past, where there's great examples, good and bad. And I think something of which that Wallets has done is definitely listen to that. We've also influenced many great decisions from other competitors within the market. But actually, when you look across the suite of tools which users want, now, pay, earn and trade, there is no SEX that can provide all of those in one place in a self-custodial manner. Of course, it wouldn't be a centralized exchange. The ability to own your assets and still have those those product accessibilities, for me, is huge. For many users around the world, they want the ability to hold and store their assets at any time, have access to these tools, these suites, these empowerment tools. Frankly, these are challenging norms from traditional environments, traditional circles, and you actually still got full control of what happens next. I think it's really unique. You hear horror stories. I think we all know what happened with FTX. You know that there's many rumours always online when it comes to custody of assets. Well, remove that barrier. Take full control of your assets. We know about that, and you're probably laughing because it's quite out there and maybe smack talking about sexes. I don't mean it in a very aggressive way. I mean it as if it's the perfect way to resolve a user's issue. Well, take full control of your assets. And something that we've done very well is, we understand that people, they may be a little bit worried about seed phrases, for example. They might lose their words. So, okay, we generated and we created social login. You can now create a wallet on Bitget Wallet using your Google email address, frankly, making it more secure than ever for a Web2 user, a traditional user. All you need is an email address. As long as you've backed up, you've got your password, you are safe and you are good to go. So we're constantly developing and evolving our offering with everything in mind, but also learning from the past. And I hate to say it, I really do think Sex's days are numbered in many aspects, and I think wallets now are more than wallets, and they not only have taken over, they will continue to take over in the future.
Jimmy, I love how you frame it about the onboarding, because the easiness of onboarding was, I would say, a couple of years, maybe 2, maybe 4, something like this. The easiness of onboarding Web2 users to Web3 was a huge topic, and there was loads of startups out there trying to solve this problem. Right now, it's kind of getting merged between like Web2 and Web3 onboarding. But okay, now you covered this part, and we're talking about another war that we're seeing in there. Talking about the fintech super apps, like we see in, in Latin America and so on and so forth, versus the crypto wallets. So who you think going to be the top one in the nearest future, and who going to be the winner of this war?
Well, Bitget Wallet, of course. I think that as a service provider, what a question! What a loaded question that is. I think. Listen, let me remove names from this. I think the organisation that succumbs to users' needs, understands users' needs locally. I think local rails have never been more important. As an organisation, Bitget Wallet, we recognised that last year. We went super aggressive when it came to building regional teams, getting local information, local needs, fully understanding them, and developing things like on-ramp ability, making sure that the application, the materials, everything that they see, feel, touch, interact with, resonates the local users' needs. We talk about super apps. Super apps are called that because, frankly, it becomes an everyday tool. I genuinely believe that Bitget Wallet has positioned itself as your everyday tool because we all know, I've mentioned it again, I'm going to say it again, the future of finance is on chain. And I think that we empower that very, very well with the full suite of services that we have. And frankly, whether you're in Singapore, you're in India, you are in the UK, Germany, France, wherever, you have the same access to these services. I even bought an eSIM directly in my Bitget wallet when I traveled, giving my phone the ability to continue to trade and actually message my mum to tell her that I landed. So you can do everything that you need within this one super app, and for me that is the future of where we're heading.
And also, can you maybe share with me where you strategically heading as a wallet product? Because there's a lot of different talks, like it's becoming super apps, it's, I don't know, the new whatever, like the new economy is going to be based on the wallet. So maybe you already had some product strategy sessions or something that you come up with as a 2026 roadmap.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, we strongly believe that crypto is for everyone and everyday finance is on chain. And if it's on chain, of course, it's in Bitget Wallet. Now, all of our payment suite, all of our earn capabilities and trade capabilities, they're all in one place for one reason. You know, users' needs have evolved much wider than a wallet's just being a place, frankly, to store and hold assets and maybe the odd occasional trade. You know, users want one place, one system, one ecosystem, one UX, where frankly they can achieve many things. I think giving users alternatives in 2026, I can't believe I'm saying 2026, by the way, it's never been more crucial. It has never been more. I mean, right now I'm obviously based in the Middle East. We know a lot of the issues that are happening right now in terms of the politics around that's going on above us. But you've got to look at some of the real stories around that. Whether you're an individual in Turkey, Iran, or anywhere, frankly, in the world where you're suffering from inflation locally and your native currencies are crashing, you're looking for an alternative. And the best example I can probably give you is Turkey. You know, in the last 5 to 6 years, the native currency in terms of value to the US dollar and the pound and the euro has crashed. It's crashed significantly. We're talking like £1 5-6 years ago was 6 or 7 Turkish lira. Now it's 30 to 40 dependent on the day, which is just absolutely insane. Now what this means for everyday users in Turkey is, you know, for them to go and put that money into the bank, inflation's not going to beat that. You know, if they were to go and deposit that and put it into earn systems and lock it away, they're going to get 2% max. You're not beating that type of inflation, you know. They need something different, and the ability for us to demonstrate our tools, you know, earn capabilities is incredible for them because it not only gives them an alternative to earn on their assets, but actually store and hold USDT, stable coins, for the very first time and maximise them, whether that be earning them or spending them in a really creative way. So giving people that option, that challenge. The challenge, I'm going to call it a challenge, to traditional ways around finance has never been more important. And Wesley, frankly, I think the world is a super scary place right now. You probably hear jets, you know, every day. Even now in Dubai, I have planes flying across the head, which is crazy, and you'll probably hear them throughout this. You just don't know what's going to happen. And I think self-custody of your assets have never been more important. It really hasn't. You know, we see major financial institutions and ecosystems putting more parameters, more question marks, more paperwork around how people access finance. Now, for me as an individual who lives a pretty hybrid, kind of like on-the-go moving life, I need access to my resources at any time. And for me, crypto is that. But it comes back to my first point. You know, I'm a person of mixed heritage. You know, in the UK, I can easily go and get a bank account, have access to the majority of services. If I was my uncle's son, so exact same family roots, but born in Cairo, the suite of tools of which I have access to are very different for many, many reasons. And I think the moment that we overcome that is now. And I strongly believe that in 2026, the services that are provided to individuals via the use of wallets, Bitget Wallet, is definitely challenging that norm. And I cannot wait to see how it even further develops into something exceptional.
Let's touch base on the Bitget Wallet growth. So it's over 90 million users across 130 blockchains out there. If we strip away the marketing language, what was the real kind of growth driver out there? Is it the product itself, maybe distribution, education, maybe right timing that you actually launched and delivered this product? So what do you think personally?
Yeah, it's product. Product speaks more than anything. I think the way in which our product team acknowledges trends and builds is exceptional. You know, very often in our organization, we talk about being a startup. You may think that that's crazy. You know, we've got 90 million users, a big team, but actually our mentality is you've got to be aggressive. You've got to catch every trend. You've got to continue to improve and you've got to continue to grow. Now, the way in which our team acknowledged these trends earlier, I think we did a very good job. We spoke earlier about the Telegram bots and mini apps and things like this. This was back, frankly, due to our tech team. The back end do an exceptional job. I also want to talk very highly around our partnerships team. Partnerships have never been more important. Whether that's the ability to partner with Ondo and provide real-world assets in our application, or frankly, the latest meme coin that's on the market. Is it available on Bitget Wallet? Is there a campaign for users to come and trade it on Bitget Wallet? That really matters. When it comes to growth, when it comes to resonating what users want, being hot and reactive to trends is super, super important. And it's something that is built within a culture of organisation. Frankly, it comes back to the sports days. You either want it or you don't. And if you're not hungry, you're not going to grow and you're not going to achieve anything.
You actually recently commented on another aspect, the AWS outage, and you said it exposed the kind of weak point of crypto. I'm curious, is this something the industry can realistically fix? So, or are we just building decentralization on top of centralized infrastructure for this foreseeable future? What do you think? So, it's
we talk about maturity. It's a good question, but we talk about maturity of markets. Arguably the wider space is less than 20 years old. The infrastructure built within it, probably between 5 and 10 years old. This is very, very, very early days. Something that is very clear is the vision and the infrastructure that's being built around it. Is it perfect right now? Absolutely not. Is the principle, is the concept there? I think it absolutely is. I think, listen, let's look at a few things. You look at the way in which you send a text message right now. It's very different to many years ago. Like you go in, for now, if I pick up my iPhone, I've got the QWERTY keyboard. I'm not clicking 1, 2, 3, 4 about 6 times to be able to send hello to somebody. Now I've just got the access to the keyboard. The way in which we interact with the technology, even though like from the Nokia days, you play Snake on the phone, it looks very different. The process is still there, but actually the user experience is slightly different. The infrastructure will build over time. For me, I'm really interested to see how in which the tech team, the back team, they evolve that change, because frankly this is a challenge not only for our industry, I think it's a challenge for many industries. When servers do break, servers go down and infrastructure crashes, what comes next? And I think the use of AI is certainly going to put an incredible pressure on networks. There's going to be a hell of a lot of congestion at many times. I think frankly, look at X. In the last month, I think it's been down 3 times already. We know when there's huge surges of traffic onto platforms, they crash. And this isn't just a crypto issue, this is an issue across many industries. But frankly, how you recover from that crash is really, really important. And I cannot wait to see the solutions that evolve from it.
And just to kind of wrap up out there, we already talked about many concepts, the meme coins, the stable coins out there, the wallets, the exchanges, and many, many other stuff. So, and what is the most popular marketing decision, I want to ask, you made that turned out to be the right one? Just to make sure we also share some professional knowledge of ours out there.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to probably highlight this. For me, I undertook a full rebrand of our wallet. I changed the logo, changed the colour schemes, changed the feel. When I first came to Bitget Wallet, I felt that it was very traditional in the sense of black and white, basic colours, but actually it lacked human feeling, emotion and touch. I think organisations that resonate users' needs need to look human-centric. They need to feel fresh, energetic, and actually position themselves in a really strong way. So one of the first things I did, of course, was change the logo, change the colour schemes, change the languages, the terminologies that we use to position ourselves to align with the Everyday Finance on-chain initiative under Crypto for Everyone. So we launched the Crypto for Everyone initiative, we pushed it out, and frankly, the end goal for that is to deliver our promise, really deliver our vision, and frankly, showcase the unbelievable suite of tools that we have in our application.
Definitely, Jamie. Details matter. It's always been like this, and it's kind of famous quote out there. And if thinking about which decision initially looked like a win, but later proved it to be mistake, it's always about bad and good experiences out there. Maybe something you also want to share.
Everything. I think, my team always laugh. I think it's better to try and fail than not try at all. Every day we fail. I think failure is very, very good part of the process for any team that is aggressive and wanting to grow at a quick rate. Failure allows you to align your vision even better, whether it be a piece of content you create, whether it be a product rollout, a go-to-market strategy, whether it be an influencer or a KOL or community group, the way you communicate with them. It's absolutely fine to fail as long as you learn from where you went wrong and you redefine it in the future. We get things wrong. I get things wrong all the time, not just in work. You can ask my wife. I'm always making big mistakes, but I think that's what defines us. Not actually making the error is how you bounce back from it and then what you make of it.
Jamie, and last question, it will be my personal one. I wanted to ask you about, like, if you can sit back right now, thinking about the journey in the Web3, the blockchain, cryptocurrency world, if there would be a chance for you not to even start it or maybe change one thing, would you do this, or you keep everything as it is?
I would change my mindset very early on. Mm-hmm. Now, it's around risk. I'm not talking about financial risk. I'm talking about opportunity risk, being brave, putting myself into uncomfortable situations. I was never, believe it or not, an outgoing person. I didn't like that style of meeting people, joining TG groups, investing my time into people. I'm going to say something right now. In crypto, your network, frankly, can become your net worth. Whether that be a connection, whether that might be an individual, a call group, whoever that might be. When I make money on projects, when I'm personally trading, when I'm meeting new connections, when I joined Bitget, for example, it was through a connection within the space. I think a stat is 7% of the world population are in crypto. Even less of those trade every single day. If you can be within those circles, communicating, learning from these people, building on resources, just be a sponge, push yourself. I had opportunities very, very early to go to America, to go and meet huge KOLs, interview them, and I just didn't feel like at the time it was the right thing to do. Now, if I had have done, maybe my journey would have been very different. You don't know. I don't regret it, but actually what I do regret is that I wasn't confident enough at the beginning to really leverage the network that I had developed.
Right. And just to wrap up, I kind of wanted to made a quick blitz out there. So imagine if you can name your journey in Web3 and crypto with like a movie, for example. What's the name going to be?
The In-Betweeners, because I think in my life there's been multiple characters, especially in my crypto journey, as to where it's at. I think that it's also been the part where I have been to school with crypto. I've learned a lot about the space. I've graduated and now I've become a little bit of an adult. I'm now a CMO. I'm now working at a huge organization. And frankly, life has just got super, super real. And maybe it's becoming more of something like, an opportunity of which I could have never have dreamed of. And I think you've got to understand my background. I'm a young man still, I believe, from a working class Northern English town where frankly opportunities are far and few between. I was very lucky in my sports, in my rugby background, to have a great career. And again, I believe very lucky in crypto to be able to develop myself into this professional. Now, that wasn't given to me as a right. I earned it, and I earned it via hard work. I believe, for me, in my opinion, I don't need to be the smartest person in the room. I don't think very often I am. I'm pretty dumb, to be honest with you. I think for me, I can guarantee that I am the hardest person in any working room that I walk in, because I will be the first one to turn up, I will be the last one to leave the room, and I'll soak every piece of information in. Now, you will never take that work ethic away from me, and I will ensure that my team always understand that I'm there to support them at all times, and that is a quality that when people think of me, they think that I work bloody hard and always want to achieve my goals. That is something that I want to stand by and will always try to achieve.
Awesome. Jamie, that's a great thought, great sharing, and definitely thank you for talking with me today. It's been Jamie, CEO of Bitget Wallet, and we're actually down out here. And absolute pleasure, mate. Absolute pleasure to meet like-minded individuals, and looking forward to stay in touch in the future, frame more and more partnerships, more podcasts like this, and some more collaborations with you personally. I appreciate you. Thank you.
No, the pleasure's mine, Wesley. I just want to say, by the way, you do a fantastic job with these podcasts. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's probably my favourite one in a long time. And also I want to give a big shout out to SwapSpace. The partnership of which we have, the integrations that you also put in place. Let's put some respect on that. I think you do an incredible, incredible job for the wider ecosystem. Thank you very much for all your contributions to the wider space, and long may it continue.
Appreciate you, Jamie. Thank you for watching. See ya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.